After over 25 years of marriage, we've learned that successful couples have great friendships, put each other first, and focus on light just as much as love. We believe marriage should be fun and easy.
Our goal is to share our journey with the hopes of helping others build strong, happy relationships. Join us as we continue to create our lives beyond I do.
We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We're just simply sharing y'all how we navigated through our marriage. Now, on with the show.
Hey y'all, I'm Margaret.
And I'm Byron.
And we'd like to welcome you back to the Beyond I Do podcast. On this episode, we have a guest, Miss Crystal Estrella Curiel, and she is going to tell us about herself. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And if you would let us know a little bit about what you do and
who you are.
Who I am. So, my name is Crystal. I am technically actually call myself an integrative healing arts practitioner. So I practice a few different healing modalities to help people change their mindset and accomplish their goals and live their dream life. So I call it Estrella Healing Arts because my dream package is to reach the stars, right? You don't have to live this life that's difficult all the time. You can live in the stars, like the stars, you know? Mm-hmm. So I use my main healing modality as hypnotherapy. That's what I've been mainly trained in. That's my go-to.
Yes.
I also offer life coaching, but mostly every coaching session, everything I do, I always love to wrap in hypnosis and hypnotherapy with it because it's such a powerful tool to really get into the subconscious mind and create that positive change. So even if I'm doing, teaching somebody EFT, emotional freedom technique, I'm going to do a hypnosis with them at the end or a meditation at the end to help integrate that into the subconscious.
Right.
So I'm like a jack of all trades when it comes to healing.
Okay. So we used to have a local comedy club and a hypnotist person would come and he would have the shows. And then we were in Vegas once and we went to one of the shows and he went on stage. And so when we think hypnosis, when the average person thinks hypnosis, that's the type of thing that we think about. So if you could explain to us, what is it that, because I'm sure you're not going to have him on stage singing if he comes
the typical the stopwatch just
right with the line
follow the right. So what is it?
And then you're gonna be hypnotized to do all the chores.
Right.
No. Okay, so what it is just a deep state of relaxation. That's what hypnosis really is. It comes from the word sleep. So it's technically not sleep. You're just deeply relaxed. Mm-hmm. And while you're in this deeply relaxed state, you are highly suggestible and your imagination can run wild. Mm-hmm. So I am there as a guide to simply help you while you're in a relaxed state, create new neural pathways, new imaginations, ways of seeing things to help you then have positive change. Now, when you go to stage hypnotism, that's a whole, they're there for entertainment. They're not there to change your life, right? This is a totally different thing, but he's just putting you in a relaxed state and you are highly suggestible and you want to play along. And usually people who get on stage want to be on stage a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I've been stage hypnotized twice myself. That's how I fell in love with hypnotism and the whole thing, because I just thought it was such an amazing feeling.
Mm. So you talk about the relaxed state of being now, and I have a little bit of background information because I watched one of your videos that talked about that relaxed state. So because there again, we have this picture in our mind. So if you could, what does that relaxed state like look like, or in everyday life? Can you give an example for us to?
Yeah, that's such a common question that I get. Everybody wants to know, like, what does it feel like to be hypnotized, right? So generally, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to feel like for you, but I can tell you what I experience and what a lot of my clients say. So if you've ever just been like watching a movie and you are like in it, you're crying, you're laughing, you're feeling with the characters, you are hypnotized. So if you know what your body feels like when you're in that state of mind, you already know what it feels like to be hypnotized. Another one that I tell people often is when you're driving and your favorite song comes on and you're going along and it's been an hour and you don't know if you stopped at the last 10 lights, all of a sudden you're at your destination. You hypnotized yourself. You were in a hypnotic state. So if you know what that feels like, and then you can kind of get that feeling or idea of like, okay, I know what that feels like to be kind of like that spaced out feeling.
Right.
The cool thing about what I do is the cool thing about what I do is I do it more as like a mental massage. So I tell people, if you've ever gotten a professional massage and you felt along with the massage therapist as they went along in your body and you just kind of went with it, that's kind of like what it is being hypnotized. I have you literally imagine relaxing from head to toe. We go through your different body parts. It feels amazing. As long as you're willing to submit to it and be like, yeah, I want to feel good. I want this mental massage. If you're going into it with a good mindset and you're ready for it, it can feel like it can literally relieve pain.
Oh, wow.
Because it feels so good. And it's all within your mind. It's just all within you. All I know is like the words to say to kind of get you there, like in the different kind of hypnotic dance to play even before I put you in that relaxed state.
So you talk about the relaxed state of the mind and getting people to that relaxed state. So once a person is in that relaxed state of mind, what is the process from there?
So then I do a couple of different things. It really depends on what the goal of the session is. For a first timer, I like to do a deepener, which is just going somewhere pretty, because I want you to just experience what it feels like to feel really good and feel relaxed. So a lot of times, like, everybody loves the beach, right? Like, who doesn't want to go to the beach?
Right.
So first we give you that kind of mental massage through your body, and then we go to the beach and I just have you imagine like feeling so good. And if you're a worrier, if you're somebody who just constantly in your head, you're a perfect candidate for hypnosis, because you can follow along with your imagination. That's all I need you to do.
Right.
And in your imagination, you're really going to feel like there's sand beneath your toes. You just imagine it. That's it. But you're so relaxed that it starts feeling more real and more real. And so I take you somewhere really pretty. And then usually that just deepens you into a good relaxed state where you're really ready and primed. And then I go into the therapeutic session where I have pre-written scripts that I alter depending on the conversation that I have with the person beforehand, or depending on like what we're doing. If we're trying to do, more advanced things like age regression, I would then coach them into talking to me and going back and doing things like that. But those are more advanced techniques that I don't really do with first timers. I want you to really know how it feels for you to be hypnotized before we go into things that can be harder to access subconsciously.
Right.
Okay.
If that makes
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like asking questions and things. So in that state of hypnosis, so the person can still hear and respond.
Yes, completely.
Okay.
I have had a few, it's interesting. when I do past life regression with people, I have had somebody who just went blank, wouldn't answer any of my questions, nothing else. And we had a conversation afterwards, and it was like, well, why do you think that happened? And he's like, I think my spirit guides were blocking, because he had that kind of rapport. And I was like, yeah, okay. It's not necessarily like you didn't do it right, or, something failed. If you get this block, if something comes up that's blocking you. And some people afterwards, they'll go into a really deep state where they say they don't really remember anything I said. And that's completely fine, because you can even do hypnosises where you sleep through them. Okay. Just put on hypnosis, sleep through the night. Right. And it'll work. It starts really rewiring the brain. It's crazy, but it really does.
So I listened. Well, it's usually the music, especially if he's home. But when he's on nights, and then in the past, I've listened to some of the subliminals in hypnosis at night. And so I'll tell him I'm going to turn it on and ask him if it's okay, so it doesn't disturb him. And he talks about you're going to play the sleep man.
Yeah. You're feeling deeper. It's going deeper. And I'm just like, I have my I sleep with the CPAP machine, so I'm in the bed like, will you just shut up? I'm trying to so I have to kind of tune him out.
So I save the ones with words when he's not here. And I like the music. Even if
music is great. I could deal with the music, definitely.
I feel, and there's supposed to be subliminals, but even if there's not, whatever the goal is, it puts my mind in that state of being before going to sleep. So for me, that works too.
Yeah. Yeah. So for our listeners, if you were to do a Zoom session like we're doing now, what are some of the steps that you would take them through?
So first, I would spend about a half hour talking to them before we even get into the hypnosis. Okay. I have like a set of kind of hypnotic questions that I ask them so that they can get really clear about their goals. Because a lot of times, people will come in and they'll just say, I want to be confident. And I'm like, great, I want to give you confidence. But hey, listen, I can't just wave my hypnotherapy wand and like, boom, all of a sudden you've accomplished all these goals and now you have these huge confidence. No, what I can do, I can help you accomplish a goal that's going to give you the confidence.
Right.
Okay. So then I'm like, so let's get more clear. Let's get more clear, and then we get so clear that it's like, okay, well, I've been biting my nails for 40 years, right? So, okay, now we got something. Let's do that. Mm. And then so we get really clear about a goal. And then I ask him, what do you want? How are you going to feel if you don't get this goal? Just different questions like this that really help. It's like lubricating those wheels in the brain, right? Like, okay, I'm really thinking now about why do I bite my nails? What is it that I really want to change about this? And how is this going to change my life? And then I'll explain hypnosis to them. I'll answer their questions about all that. I do a susceptibility test, which is really fun. We can do a little bit of that if we have time at some point. So, and then I would do a little susceptibility test just to kind of get them ready and primed. And then I have them in a remote session. I recommend that you have either headphones or earplugs. If it's on your phone and you can hear me, fine. If it's something that you're used to listening to that way, that's fine. Yeah. I just want you to hear my voice.
Right,
and that's the most important thing. Yeah. And then, so I'll then just have you do some breathing with me, close your eyes, and then we go into the session and we'll do the body relaxation, the deepener where we go somewhere pretty, and then the therapeutic part of the session. And then I have you come out and then we talk about it a little bit, because a lot of times people see some really cool stuff, I'm like, imagine the beach, and they're like, I was at the beach and the sky was a rainbow, and I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Like, they're like, you did such a good job. I'm like, I didn't do that. You did that.
So when you're in session, does it put you in that same, like in a similar relaxed state?
The coolest thing about being a hypnotherapist is I'm such a good person with my own imagination. I love to imagine. So as I'm reading my scripts, I'm there like on the beach with you, like hanging out with you in my mind, you know? So I can kind of like see what you're doing and kind of imagine along with you. And when I'm asking you to like clear things out of your subconscious, my own subconscious is benefiting.
Right.
Just because it's like, oh yeah, I remember how to do this. So yeah, to me, doing the job is like amazing because I get relaxed, you know, and I get benefits along with helping my clients.
Okay, that sounds great.
So do you ever find the opposite where you are almost in any type of situation where you're helping someone to get rid of negative energy, like you're almost opening yourself up? Do you ever find yourself kind of like burnt out because you're helping them clear?
I do have to sometimes really ground if I'm having one of those like exhausting days where I'm like, all right, be on the beach again.
Right.
I do have to do my own like grounding. I have this whole, I'm a very spiritual person myself, so I have this whole like wrapping myself in my golden light cocoon before I have my client, my own rituals that I have to do that protect my energy.
Okay.
And I also know that when things are getting dark per se, you know, like when I'm having them maybe go into something that might be uncomfortable, I know my next page on my script has them filled with light, filling with love. Like, you know, like I know the ending of the story. So I don't get caught up in the fear and the scary part. You know, my client might be crying, you know, on the other side. Maybe they're crying through this situation, but I don't feel like it's going to affect me in that way. And I don't feel like I have to bring up my own past, you know, because it's like there's a rainbow at the end, you know?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and not to take away from any other therapeutic modality or anything, but what would be beneficial to seek out hypnotherapy to help with current issues, to help with past issues? What are some of the benefits instead of like a traditional therapeutic setting?
That's a really good question. So I always say, if you have medications, take your meds. If you have see your therapist and see me. I always want you to be in the conventional ways because I don't have a bachelor's degree like she does to teach you how to go back and really dissect all that trauma in your past. I'm not worried about that. That's for your therapist. I'm your hypnotherapist. I'm here to do the magic. I'm here to take you where you're at right now and propel you forward. That's my only goal. And when I do a session and we have things in our past that are bothering us, limiting beliefs, you know, I will literally have you imagine vacuuming it up. Just vacuum them up. And then we don't have to open up the bag and look at all the trash inside. Just get rid of them.
Right.
You know, because you can come out of this and wake up and be like, look, I know that from this day forward, I'm never biting my nails again. And boom, you just needed that push. And when the cravings come up because of the things said during the therapeutic parts of the session, you know, I don't want to give away all my tips and tricks, right? Things said during the therapeutic parts of the session will help you in the future when you do have these cravings, because I'm not a magician. I can't stop the cravings. This kind of segues into this, just like you have neural pathways that are created. You know, somebody who's been smoking 49 years, those neural pathways are, you know, I can't create brain surgery. If I could, I'd be a billionaire, right? But what I can do is create a new pathway. I can create this experience, this beautiful experience of cleansing yourself of all the nicotine and all the junk and you never want to go back to it again. And then you have that to hang on to when those come, you know, and you have those memories to go back to, instead of like, oh, I just remember going and smoking and then I felt better. No, but I also remember I did this hypnotherapy thing and I felt even better than I did when I smoked.
Along those lines, do you give your clients things that they can do if that craving hits? Can they do like a little mini hypnosis session themselves?
When I do the like deepener, I always put in these sentences of like, you'll be able to access this easily and effortlessly at any time you need, anytime cravings come up. So they'll have that, you know, they'll just sit there and close their eyes, and I'm like, you already all kind of know how to do it and how it feels for you.
Right.
So you can get there faster. And for some people who need that, I'll add those words in where I'll say, you know, every time you go and try to practice hypnosis, you'll enter faster and deeper, easier every time. Just adding in different things like those will help people, you know, when they want to access it again later.
Okay.
That's great. So now, Crystal, we talked about hypnotherapy and the positives of it. We've talked about your sessions and how you do them. For our listeners, what brought you to the point where hypnotherapy was the thing for you?
Right. Who picks to be a hypnotist, right? So, okay, I fell in love with hypnotism. I was a little girl and I used to DJ with my stepdad. He did like DJing for like weddings and parties and all these things. And I would go with him, and every once in a while there'd be hypnotists. And always at the end, the stage hypnotist would add in something like, okay, now who wants to quit smoking? Like, who wants to change their life forever? And the whole thing is just so magical. And I was a kid, right? And I'm like, wow. And if this really works, that person's life is going to change. And then years and years later, I got stage hypnotized twice. And the second time on the big stage in Vegas. And I bought the hypnosis DVD or whatever. I got it for free. I can't remember. So I decided to start using that because I had really bad insomnia. My life was in a really dark place at the time. And so I wasn't sleeping, and I started using it for that. And then I started listening to the depression one, and it started helping. And I was like I'm finally sleeping again. Like, holy cow. Okay. And then, you know, years went by and I kind of forgot it was a whole thing. And then I went through 2019 hit, and I lost my brother, I lost my marriage, lost everything. Just darkest night of the soul, just horrible time. And I entered 2 years of pretty intense, like I was going weekly to therapy, doing like EMDR and all this other stuff. And then I remembered, I remember doing those hypnosis things, and I was desperate to stop hating my ex-husband or just having him plague me. Because it was just this constant plaguing. Like, all I could think about was him and my divorce and all these terrible things. And I just wanted to stop. And I was like, I remember the last time I felt like I was this bombarded by not being able to sleep and feeling like this terrible, and how much the hypnosis helped me. So I went and researched and found a hypnotherapist myself and started using her, and she transformed my life. It was crazy. I had done 2 years, and I have done intensive outpatient therapy. I actually had to go like inpatient therapy. Like, my life was a mess. And I went 2 years of just trying to get my mental health together. And then finally I found this modality, and I was like, I love this. I've always been obsessed with like hypnosis. I love, you know, the way this feels. I was thinking about going into the helping in the mental health field anyway, because of how far I had come. I was like, I've done years of therapy at this point. Like, I think I ended up, this is something like 500 hours of therapy. Crazy. Like, wow. I don't even remember. But I was like, I've done so much. How can I let this go to waste? Like, I got to keep going. and keep
Right.
learning more and more. And so I kind of the two just kind of melded together after I met my hypnotherapist. And she's like, you could do this.
Mm.
She's like, I can tell you where to go to school. I can mentor you. Like, you got this. So I found a school here in Arizona that teaches hypnotherapy and other healing modalities. And here I am today.
Wow.
Awesome.
So, and you definitely, when you're in a situation and you find something that helps you, that makes you want to help others.
Yeah.
It's like when you're eating something and it's really good and you're like, here, you got to taste this, because it feels good to you and you want to share that.
And watching your videos on Instagram and TikTok, I can tell that you love it. It's not something that you're just doing for making money. It's like you love it, and when you love something, you'll share it. And so we definitely appreciate that about you.
Thank you. You know, because I go get my own hypnosis stuff done. You know, I love it. Why wouldn't I use it? So I went and saw my own hypnotist, and he said, you know, you have this moral obligation to share this gift. And I was like, right. He's like, how dare you keep it quiet? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Why do I think these things? Why do I have these limiting beliefs? It's like, this is an amazing tool for people, you know, and there's all different kinds of healing modalities. And I'll never tell people to stop doing what they're doing if it's working. Mm-hmm. This is just one more amazing tool that's out there that feels great. Like, who doesn't want to feel like they're getting a massage while they're healing?
Okay. Wow. So you mentioned in 2019 you lost relatives and you lost your marriage. And I've seen your website, but for the listeners, how many children do you have?
I got 3 kids.
Got 3 kids. Wow. They're beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, you got a 4th one because you got Bear.
Yes, Bear.
Bear's the dog. We're gonna try to have to get a photo, a shot of Bear towards the end.
Yeah.
So, with your children, have you introduced your children to hypnotherapy?
My kids are so sick of it. I taught them how to meditate from such a young age. I taught them so many things that they don't want to hear it from me anymore. But, you know, they use it when they, you know, they'll ask for it when they need it. You know, they'll ask for a meditation or things like that. But if I'm like, hey, you know what'll help? They're like, I don't want to hear it anymore, Mom.
I had a student who, I can't even remember what it was, but she said something one day, and I thought, that this was a 9th grade student, and I thought, that is the most insightful thing I've heard in a long time, and to come from a 9th grade. And I asked her, I said, where did you learn that? And she said her mom was a life coach. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. Like, to grow up with someone who's raising you with tools like that, to the point where you're 14 and you can impart wisdom in the life of an adult.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So they probably call on those things more than they'll let you know.
Yeah, probably.
I hate to be the devil's advocate.
All right.
Because this is a marriage podcast, is there anything you'd like to share about the difficulties in your marriage and looking back on them now with what you know? Is there anything that you would like to tell Crystal back then when she was going through those things in her marriage?
I think I would like to just tell her that it's like gonna get better and that like things are gonna be all right and they're gonna work out.
Right.
And you know, I don't want to go around bashing my ex or saying terrible things. You know, we had our problems and we both did a lot of terrible things, but luckily I've been able to now be in a healthy relationship since then.
Yes.
And I just wish I could tell her to like, it's okay, like hang on, because there's this super healthy relationship that's coming.
Right.
You know, open communication where you can be yourself, where you can, you know, back in that life, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have been able to follow my dreams the way I am now.
Right.
You know?
Okay.
So
for someone who's going through some things, a marriage that's failing or anything like that, what are some tools you can give them?
yes. Okay, so main tool that I would definitely want to teach somebody who is in their darkest of dark hours is to take your days day by day. Right. And even if that feels like too much, take it 15 minutes at a time. Yeah. Anybody can 15 minutes through anything, you know, because sometimes I get people don't just come see a hypnotist for no reason. I know I'm not your first phone call, right? Like, right. And I'm kind of glad for it. I'm glad that I'm getting you when you're desperate for change. Mm-hmm. Right. You know, because that's when you're ready to hear it and actually change. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I would also tell somebody who's going through it in those dark times. It's like, this is your time to change. You're in the pit and you can get out and things are going to look so much better. Mm-hmm. So different. You can't even imagine what is on the other side of that pit. And it's not even with people who lose a marriage. You know, there's people who are married and lose a child, you know, and that can be so hard on a marriage.
Yes.
So hard on a marriage. Yes. And that's why each of those people need to do their work to go through their grieving process. And that's another thing I say, you know, with people who are going through grief, I can't say you're going to see this beautiful rainbow at the end, right? Because I can't bring back the one. Right. I can tell you that if you're going through a divorce, but people who are going through grief, what I can tell them though is that to get through it is to reach out to people who are around you, get help. Yes. That's my biggest for people who are going through grief. Get help.
Yes.
It is okay. It's okay if what you want to talk to is a hypnotherapist. It's okay if what you want to talk to is a life coach. It's okay if what you want to talk to is your dog. Talk to somebody.
Yes.
Process it. Exactly. Find the help. Because people out there are going to be able to give you that hope, you know, give you the validation and the love and the community, because a lot of times when we're grieving, and I know this just from my own, it's just you have that hole, that loneliness.
Right.
And it's okay to open up that loneliness and let other people in and fill it up.
Yes.
You know,
I know as someone who has lost both of my parents at different times. My father passed away in 96 and my mother passed away in 2019. I often tell people, you know, you never really get over anybody. You just learn to live without them. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, in the beginning, that's the struggle, because it's like, okay, I'm used to calling my mama at least once a week, and now I don't have that number to call. Well, I can call the number, but she's not going to answer. Her mom passed away in 2015. And just recently, the other day, I saw where I got a friend request from her. And it's like, you know, sometimes people who do the anniversary, the birthdays, you know, happy birthday and stuff like that. And so I just tell people, you know, you just learn to live without them. That's the best advice that I can give.
Yeah. You just learn to live a new life. You know, I love metaphors, and I just think of it. It's like, you know, it's just, this is the dimension or the life. Like, you live this life in this weird dimension, and now all of a sudden you don't have your brother in this dimension, and now you have to live this new life.
Yep.
You know, it's like, what happened? You know?
Right. And it's the process.
It is.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And you can look at it as, that was an amazing book of your life, where you have this amazing character who played a huge part in your life, and you get to keep that book. This is just something, you know, I kind of help people with visualizations. You get to keep that book with you and close to your heart at all times. You know, you have this very special, and now it's time for a new book.
Right.
It's time for a new book. And that's okay, you know, and you can, their character is going to play a part in this new book too, because their influence is always going to be with you. You know, like I lost my brother 2019, and he DJs my life to this day. You know, I have my ways of always keeping him with me. A song come on the radio and I'm like, there you are, Raul, I hear you.
Yeah.
You know? So you're always going to have them, but there's always so much beauty too. It's always that hole, but we can always put light in it.
So one of the things that you mentioned was the idea of surviving to thriving. And so oftentimes in that grief, or when things seem to keep happening, we get into that mode. And even really in everyday life, we get into that mode of surviving.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Honestly, sometimes you're in that mode and you don't realize that there's anything else. So if you could speak a little bit about how hypnotherapy can be a means to get from that surviving state to a thriving state of being.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So for me, I used it when I was in my survival state of mind, you know, and hypnotherapy is such a powerful tool because it can help you shift your mindset, and you just start going towards life with these new goals. And then you start really accomplishing things, and things really start changing for you. You know, I hate manifestation stuff, but I love it at the same time. It's, you know, because it really is real. If you really can imagine yourself, like sometimes I'll do a timeline therapy with somebody who's really getting stuck. You know, they can't see anything past 2 years from now because all they see is dark. So I take them on a timeline and let's imagine what that's really going to look like. And you can build this beautiful, whatever you want future for yourself. And a lot of times when we're in survival, we're not doing these mental exercises.
Right.
We're not thinking about what beauty can look like in 5 years.
Right.
No, you know, and so having the hypnotherapy and having these different practices can really help you, because when you get stuck in your day-to-day and you are taking it 15 minutes, okay, now I know Crystal is, you know, when I do my coaching, I give people their homework. Okay, Crystal said, tonight I have to do my 10 gratitudes, right? My 10 gratitudes. And in every gratitude is what I have people imagine is like, I'm grateful for my big, beautiful home. And I wrote this when I lived in an 800 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment, like bars on the windows. Right. My daughter's bed was above my bed, like no privacy. And every day I'm grateful for my big, beautiful home. Suddenly a family member has this home that you buy, rents it out to me for a steal. Everything gets better. My financial situation keeps growing. And still to this day, I'm grateful for my big, beautiful home. And when I would write it, I would imagine, what do I want?
Right.
How grateful I am for what I do have. Right. And actually feeling into that too. Like you say, yes, this is what I want, and this, I'm grateful for this because I know it's in my future. But also like, thank you to my divine, to the universe, to everything for just having this beautiful home, because it is a home that is big to me. Right. It makes me feel rich, you know? And just teaching people to really change from that mindset and having these practices can help them, even if their bank account is low, they're going to feel like they're thriving. Right. Because their family time is tight. And if we've done a coaching session, you know, I teach people all about balance in their life. That's like another thing that I do when I coach, but all about balance. And we find, you know, maybe you have a deficit in romantic area in your life. That's okay right now. And just coming to acceptance with this and putting more focus in other areas of your life and teaching you kind of how to shift your life from constantly just got to go to work, you know, got to do this. I can't change your job. I can't wave my wand and make your boss a better boss, but I can teach you how to be more assertive. Like I can literally have had a client she was so sweet, and she thought that everything was her fault at her job, and then she got more assertive, and then she came to me for confidence, and then we got her a new job, and it's just like watching where she went from being, you know, somebody who just thought that she was a doormat,
Right.
now has, you know, the confidence to say, nobody's going to treat me this way. I'm going to go get a better job.
Right.
You know, that's where the hypnosis, because you realize, like, I'm powerful, like I can accomplish these things.
Right.
And it's through the small changes too, sometimes, you know, just for me, it was as simple as realizing I could get over my ex. That gave me so much confidence. You know, and then the more hypnosis I do and the more things I learn and build upon and get stronger at, the more it feels like I'm thriving and thriving and thriving in my life.
Right.
Right.
That's I have to tell myself to get out of my own way a lot of the time, because I will put myself, I hold myself back. So I have to tell myself, get out of your way and just moving forward.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to wrap up our first segment and get into our Let's Discuss It. And for our Let's Discuss It, we're going to have a little bit of fun and see how susceptible the two of us are to hypnosis.
All right. Let's do it.
All right.
Baby, we need to talk.
Huh?
Now, let's discuss it.
How long have you been doing hypnotherapy?
About 2 years.
2 years. How long did it take you to do the training for it?
It was a little under 2 years of training.
Okay.
So I did 2 years of training, and then I have been working for about a year on my own. So that's why I think that hypnosis and hypnotherapy is so beneficial to people like you, because there's science behind it.
Right.
You know, like there's research behind it. Like, so what I'm teaching you is how to turn off your amygdala, your fight or flight, and turn on your prefrontal cortex. You're thinking. You're actually thinking while you're in hypnosis, because you're thinking about everything I'm saying. You're imagining, you know, you're using your mind. You're choosing to use it and allowing me to guide you, you know, and it can be so simple. You don't always have to have a hypnosis session where you're like, you know, and now imagine that you have all these wonderful things. It can just be like, you're going to tell your subconscious mind when it brings up anxious thoughts to stop it.
Right.
Stop it. And you're going to listen. And so people who have like an analytical mind like yours, something like that, kind of more of a blunt hypnosis, you know, take on it would be beneficial. And you having a good hypnotherapist, this is where I say, like, yes, you can benefit from going on YouTube and watching and listening to them, but having a good hypnotherapist who understands you and kind of is like, okay, this person's more of a right brain thinker, left brain thinker, will help, because they'll know how to tailor it towards you. I can even get people who think that they can't meditate go into hypnosis.
And I struggle with meditation because for me, I was diagnosed as an adult with ADHD and I was on medicine for years. I have been without medicine. And whereas the hyperactivity part was not always an issue, it was more of lack of focus and my brain was going. Now, like physically, sometimes I run from room to room like a toddler.
Yeah.
So the idea of sitting to breathe and to clear your mind, that's a struggle for me sometimes.
You know, and kind of something I tell my people, the cool thing about hypnosis is when I'm hypnotizing you, I don't care what your body is doing. I don't even care if you open your eyes or close your eyes. It's up to you. To me, I'm going to imagine better with my eyes closed. But I tell people, it's like, you know, when you're falling asleep and you fidget a bunch, you rub your nose, rock and you rock, that's totally okay. You're still falling asleep, right? Like, you're not waking up. So I'm like, yeah, move. If you want to wiggle your feet the whole time because you're an anxious person and you're in, a strange situation, and fine, that's fine. I just want you to use your imagination and just follow along.
Right.
Because I'm going to do different exercises. Like, for instance, somebody who has a hard time quieting their own mind, I'm going to have them imagine telling someone else how to be hypnotized. So I'm like, you're the hypnotist now. I'm going to teach you how to teach them, because I know that when you tell somebody to relax, you relax.
Okay.
Right.
So, and I'm like, and you can start off with your eyes closed. You can open them, whatever you want, as long as you're following along. Because eventually, I understand that so many people have PTSD, and this was a lot of, why I also tell people, like, go to a hypnotherapist who has an education, because anyone can call themselves a hypnotherapist. Anyone can call themselves a life coach. Go to somebody who has at least taken trauma-informed classes, because anyone could walk into my house, when I do it from home, or I can be one-on-one with somebody who's in the privacy of their own home, who has PTSD. And I don't want to trigger somebody who has PTSD, especially in a remote situation where I don't have control, or here, where I'm like, I don't want to trigger something like that. So I know that I am going to have this person just do whatever it is that makes them the most relaxed. When they walk into my space, when I start connecting with them, I'm like, this is where we're at right now. You're safe. You're here, you're in control the whole time. I don't want control of your mind. Hard enough to control my own.
Right. I get that too.
Right.
So will you be able to do both of us at the same time?
Yeah, let's do it at the same time. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I'll scoot back a little bit. So, okay, what I'm going to have you do is just kind of follow along. So first, I'm going to just have you kind of raise your hands and give your little fingers just a wiggle. Oh, thank you. That is just for my entertainment, so you look silly for all your... So I'm going to have you actually clasp your fingers together, and I'll just have you follow along, and then I'll explain to you at the end why we do this. So what I want you to do is just use your imagination. Whatever I tell you, just be willing to follow along, because it's fun and you want to see what happens. That's all I ask. Okay. So we're just going to kind of like massage our fingers together while I show you what you're going to do next. So I'm going to have you stay that way and just watch me. I'm going to have you pick up your 2 index fingers. And then as you do, I'm going to have you look through them, right through the middle. And I want you to imagine there's magnets at the end of your fingers. And that's all we're going to do. So I'm going to, on the count of 3, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. You're going to pop your fingers up, and then you're going to look through the middle, and you're just going to imagine whatever I tell you and play along. Okay. And then we're going to see what happens. All right. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, pop those fingers up, and we're going to focus right there in the middle. And in the middle, I want you to imagine that there are 2 magnets on the ends of each of their fingers, and they're pulling your fingers towards each other tighter and tighter. And they're pulling and pulling and pulling. And even if you wanted to keep your fingers apart, you couldn't even keep them apart. Even if you wanted to, they just keep pulling, and you're just imagining those magnets pulling. And when your fingers touch, you can drop your hands and give them a shake. What'd you think?
That was something.
Yeah.
Simple. Okay, so I show you that to tell you this. What I did was a magic trick and hypnosis.
Okay.
Because I primed your body, I got your fingers ready. Automatically, when you do this action, your fingers want to pull together. But then I added in that your mind is also pulling them together, and that even if you wanted to pull them apart, you couldn't. And you probably just let them do what they were going to do. But think about it. If you really wanted to, could you have dropped your hands at any point?
Yep.
Who was in control the whole time? Was I in control, or were you in control?
Right. So I was focusing on, like, okay, I don't want them to touch, so they were coming together. And I was like, I don't want them to touch, so they... That's what I was focused on.
Never did I think.
Just drop your hands.
Right.
Yeah.
But because we were instructed,
Yep.
So that was neat.
Yeah, that was.
So you're very susceptible as long as you're willing to play along. Use your imagination. I know how to literally prime your body. I literally prime your body by having you imagine the relaxation. It changes your heart rate. It changes your breathing. Your physiology changes when you go into hypnosis. I have you imagine getting relaxed, and then we go somewhere pretty, and then we do the therapy. And so it just gets in there, and you're just willing to play along. At no point are you out of control. You can stand up, sit up, cough, wiggle. I've had people, start laughing and then go right back. And it's fine. They just saw something that made them giggle.
Wow. And I was going to ask, but I mean, it kind of answered itself if you found that it was just as effective in an online setting versus in person, but
yeah,
you just showed that it was pretty effective.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah.
That was neat.
Yeah. I might have to try that myself.
Yeah, try it. Tell people you can rewatch it, so then just show your friends and family, and you can show them that you know how to hypnotize them.
Look, I'm trying to figure out how to use it to get my students to finish their work. Watch my fingers. Watch your fingers. Are they coming together? Now pick up your pencil.
That's fantastic. All right, so for our listeners, if they wanted to find you and book a session or meet you for the first time or find you on social media, can you share your information?
Yeah, so my website is estrellahealingarts.com. So that's, oh my goodness, help me spell it. ESTRELLA healing, HEALINGARTS.
We'll
Did I do it? Was that right? Did I spell it right?
You're good.
EstrellaHealingArts.com. And then I'm Crystal Estrella Curiel on Facebook. So I keep my Facebook public because I like my audience to just know who I am. I don't mind them getting to know, a little bit about me and my family and what I do and my backstory. Right. My Instagram is Estrella Healing Arts, and same with my TikTok. And my TikTok's kind of fun. I try to debunk myths and answer questions and spread the word about hypnotherapy and how amazing it is.
Very good.
That's
so,
fantastic.
And we'll make sure to add all of those things also. And we want to thank you for joining us.
Now, before we go, we did it before we started recording, but I need to see Bear again.
Oh, yeah. Bear, come here. Come here, Bear.
Oh,
Here he comes. Oh, what are you going to do?
Oh, he is lovely.
I do not need responsibility.
Oh, goodness.
Oh,
there's my bear.
I tell you now, that would be a wonderful support animal. I was at the store earlier today, and this guy come in, and I could tell he was ex-military or whatever, and he had this bulldog, and I'm like, I get, people have support animals, but I'm a little intimidated by this thing, When I see people with support animals, they're cuddly. I have to remind myself, no, you don't want to pet them.
That's not scary.
Oh, I do not.
He's getting a haircut tomorrow. You can't barely see his eyes, but tomorrow he'll look even angry.
Oh, I do not need responsibilities.
Oh my goodness.
But if I did.
Yep.
Oh, Bear is beautiful. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity, you guys. I really do.
Thank you. And we have subscribed to your YouTube, so we'll be looking out for more videos there.
Yep.
Yes.
And we follow you on TikTok. We've been looking and listening and learning ourselves. So we appreciate
it. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Take care.
All right. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please make sure to like this episode and also subscribe to our podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at the Beyond I Do podcast.
And until next time, we will holler at y'all.